I'm Andy Winward, and I'm a filmmaker, but amateur filmmaker, technically, I suppose. I run Winward Studios, which is a Middlesbrough-based, no-budget amateur filmmaking production company.
Brilliant. So how long has that been going?
It'll be 10 years in February.
Fantastic. So is that something you do on your own, or do you collaborate with other local filmmakers?
Usually it's on my own, but a lot of the time I'll get other people in, like to star in them and stuff like that. But I have had the odd one or two where like I've had some, like there was one, for instance, Taken Before Christmas, which was a parody of the Taken films, but set at Christmas. My friend wrote that, so he wrote the poem, which was The Night Before Christmas, but all changed, so it was Taken and Liam Neeson based. And then I did the visual side to it. But most of the time, I'm just a one-man crew for them all.
So you do all the filming and you do all the production?
Yeah, the writing, the filming, the editing, directing, all of it.
Awesome. So you have complete control over your work?
Yeah, there is that. But it's sort of, I don't know, it'd be nice to collaborate a bit more, but at the same time, I do like having the full creative control over it. But I suppose at the same time, it would be nice to have a bit more input from, like some input from other people, because obviously it's just my input, and maybe I'll ask my partner's opinion when I'm editing and say like, what do you think of this? And like, that's about it really.
Oh, well, maybe through the Arts Lab you can find some other filmmakers and editors that you can find you can collaborate with.
Yeah.
We've got a few in there, and and some of the more professional guys like Tees Valley Screen and things like that. And I know they have regular workshops and stuff like that. I don't know if you've seen. Quite interesting. It's a good job you're a filmmaker, because I don't know if you know, they've got a bit of a sound effect here going on with a really heavy plane going overhead. It's got to be an army plane. So sorry about that. Not all the production's values here, but we're via Zoom. What can we do? So when did you first get involved with the arts? Is that something you've always done? Did you come from a creative background?
Well, I've always liked art. Like, I've always, from being a kid, done drawing and painting and stuff like that. And then, obviously, that's a different side of the arts. But I did that. And then, so I did that in school and stuff. And photography, I did that at school. When my mum won a camcorder back in, like, I think it was about 2006, 2005, something like that, me and my brother would be playing about with that, doing like little mini movies. That was the first time doing filmmaking. Might have even been before that, to be honest. Might be about 2000. No, it will be maybe about 2003, I think. Early to mid 2000s, something like that. That was our first go up with camcorder. And then I was going to do filmmaking at uni. And for whatever reason at the time, I was put off script writing, so I didn't do it. I did photography instead, because I was more into the visual side. And then after doing the photography at uni and finishing that, I then got into just doing script writing just myself, just because I've self-taught myself all of it. I haven't done any courses or anything, so just always learning, and usually from YouTube tutorials for like how to do whatever effect or transition or whatever. I'll like look it up and then copy the technique, and then I know how to do it and stuff like that, really.
Yeah, it's quite interesting that when I started doing these interviews, I was asking people if they were self-taught, and one of our musicians pointed out, it's like, well, actually not self-taught, because watching YouTube videos is as much tuition and formal learning as anywhere else, and it's quite interesting. A a lot of people, particularly the younger interviewees, have all learned so much from YouTube, and it's, you know, just an incredible resource that we have, you know, taken for granted, don't you?
Yeah.
You know, when I was a kid, you had you had hardback books. That was it, really. That was the only possible learning potential. Have you got any kind of particular style or genre that you use, or does it depend on the kind of scripts that you're writing?
I like to dabble, but I prefer horror and comedies, and a mix of horror and comedy, because I'm a big fan of Hammer horrors and Sam Raimi films, specifically the Evil Dead films. So I like to think they come through in my work. Yeah, especially the blend of horror and comedy.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I just can't wait for my lads to be old enough to start watching the Evil Dead with. It's kind of like, you kind of feel like you could watch Evil Dead 3 with them now,
Yeah,
but not be able to watch kind of 1 or 2 until a bit later on.
Yeah, the same thing.
But a friend of mine was one of the founders of Palace Pictures, who released all the Evil Deads on VHS, and he had to go and hide. That they were getting busted, and he had to go and run off with their cassettes and go and hide them in a local churchyard of all places to stop them being seized. But yeah, terrific. Yeah, great thing to do. And actually, when they first came out, barcodes had just come out. But no one had the actual machines, but places like WH Smiths and Woolies said they wouldn't stock their cassettes unless they had a barcode. So what they did was they took the barcodes off the back of like Kellogg's cornflakes and baked beans and stuck that on their video cassettes. So if they had actually been scanned on exit, you would have been charged for a can of baked beans rather than the Evil Dead. Anyway, I digress. So is this something that you do? Do you make a living through filmmaking, or is it just kind of something that you do in your spare time? Have you got any ambition to make a career of it, or are you happy like myself, like many of us are, sort of having that balance of making your money elsewhere so that you're free to create your art in any way that you want to?
Well, it started off that I'd finished uni and I was just going to work, and I wanted a creative outlet, and I can't remember how I got back into it, because like I said earlier, I mentioned that it started off with my mum's home camcorder, but that was years before, and then getting into doing it a bit more properly. I remember lending a camcorder off my friend, because he had a flip camcorder, like when it looked like a mobile phone, and the quality was like 720 HD, but it was a fixed focus, and then I bought myself one of them cameras after he'd lent me that one, and then I got a step up from that afterwards, which again is just a home camcorder that I use. I don't use any proper equipment. Anyway, but I've lost my train of thought. Yeah, so he lent me that, and I think I did my first film with the one he'd lent me, and then I'm sorry, what was the question again?
Asking whether you have any ambitions to make it a career.
Oh yeah, sorry. Right, so yeah, when I first started, it was like a creative outlet, so more of a hobby. But I did sort of dream big with it, and I had these ideas that I could do this and do that and whatever, and hoped that I could get a job in doing it, even like to the point of making my own CV, like a filmmaker's CV. So I thought, oh yeah, I could send that off places, even though I didn't really have proper qualifications for it. But as the years have gone on, I think I've sort of started to accept that it's not really going to happen for me as much as I would have liked it to. I've accepted that I'm just gonna have a normal job, like a secure job, so so I can look after the family and all that, but I can still do the filmmaking on the side as a hobby. So yeah, in one sense, I would have liked it to have gone off and done whatever, but I don't think I have what it takes for it, to be honest. Like, I think I'm half decent at what I do, but I don't think, like, I see other people's work and it's like, yeah, I'm not that good, but I'm all right. What I do is entertaining, and when I put it out there, it doesn't get a lot of views, but it gets views and people like them, so doing something right with what I do. But even then, at the end of the day, as much as it's nice getting getting likes and maybe comments saying, "Oh, it was good" or whatever, at the end of the day, I suppose it's more for myself, really, doing them.
Yeah, like, so this is the question that I ask that I'm always interested in about that, about other than the idea that there's going to be an end product or that you want to make a career or you just want to make a short film for yourself. What is it about the creative process that makes you, like you said, you were seeking a creative outlet? What is it? What is it that the arts gives you just by being involved with it without this kind of idea of there being something at the end of it? And what role do you think it plays more generally in society?
Well, I find it helps with my mental health. Like I said, it's a creative outlet for it. But so, I mean, like, it's good going to work and all that, but just going to work, coming home, going to work, coming home, started getting me down. So I need that creative outlet. So I'm doing something productive, even if it is just like a 3-minute short film. And then, because I enjoy filming it, but my favorite part's the editing. I enjoy seeing it come together with, like, the visuals and or the text coming on screen or whatever it is, whatever, or just even just cutting them together, like a shot where someone turns one way but then it cuts to the other angle and then that's spliced together and whatever. I like seeing it come together in the editing part, and then obviously the finished product. Then you've got a sort of, like, I suppose, a sense of pride, really. Like, you've accomplished something. Because what I like to do each year is I like to collect all what I've done each year and burn them to disc. So I have a collection of DVDs that are Wimward Studios 2011, 2012, 2013, so on. They've become less, like there's not as many as the years have gone on. But as the years have gone on, I've ended up having a family and stuff like that. And plus, just, I don't know, it got away from me at one point. Like, I wasn't doing as much. And then there was a year when my granddad died, so that sort of just wasn't really in the mood for it all. And then this year seemed to have managed to do a bit more than I had last year, which is bizarre, really, because with the lockdown and everything, you'd think really it would be less, but it seemed to have inspired me in an unusual way, because I did Isolation Compilation, which was like a thing where I wanted as many people as possible to contribute a clip of themselves catching a toilet roll and then passing it on, showing whatever they're doing to get through lockdown. And then I put it all together and I had like a chain of people doing that. Then I did, what was it? How to survive a lockdown and stay sane-ish. That was just like a daft little, actually no, I did that one first, I think, if I remember right. That was just a daft little video just because I thought, yeah, I could do that. And it was just like a self-help video. I don't know if you remember the old Goofy cartoons where it was like self-help, like showing you how to dance or how to swim or whatever. And I always remember really liking them. So it was a bit like that. But it was about how to survive a lockdown. And because we were just in the house, I have to star in a lot of them now. Whereas before I would take cameo roles. Whereas now I have to take up bigger parts. Or I've started to incorporate the kids into them a lot more now than I used to. So for that one, anyway, it was just like little few different things you could do to get through the lockdown. So it was like read a book, and then it'd have like a funny clip of reading a book, something funny happened with it, and then all the other ones, design your apocalypse costume and stuff like that, like just little daft things. And then I did board games, which was based on real life in a sense, because my partner each day kept asking me, do you want to play a board game? I'd be like, yeah, all right. So we were playing board games quite regularly, but he was just like constantly asking me, do you want to play a board game? So like I told my friend about it, and he was like, why don't you make a film out of that? I'm like, I suppose so. So I've got me and my partner into it, and she appears in a lot of them as well. Like neither of us are professional actors or anything like that, but we're always game to get the films done. But yeah, that one came out quite good. I was quite pleased with that one, where it's just about a couple stuck in the house in lockdown, and the girlfriend's constantly asking, do you want to play a board game? And first it starts off like, oh yeah, okay, it starts off day 1, and then day 3, 7, so on, whatever. And it's just like, obviously you see the guy getting progressively more and more fed up of playing board games every day. But that one, I was quite pleased that one came out quite good. And then what did I do after that? I think I did a couple of I did a daft one with the kids, with both of them, with a puppet. Because originally it was planned to be just my daughter, and then my son said he wanted to be in it. So I'm like, I'll go on then, okay, I'll do it with both of you. And it was so hard, because the one of them would keep the interest, and then the other one would lose interest, and then the other one would gain interest, the other one would have lost the interest, and it was so hard. And it was only like, I don't know, I think it was only about a minute and a half, something like that. But I put a load of the outtakes in the credits, and the outtakes are longer than the actual film itself. But they're funny, and even then it was only just the outtakes of one scene. It wasn't even the outtakes for the whole thing. It was just the bit where they both sat on the bed, supposed to be reacting to hearing a growl, and they just couldn't do it. They just kept, one would react and the other one wouldn't, or one would laugh and then both would laugh, or whatever. It was funny. And then most recent one I've done was for Halloween, because I like to do a Halloween special. I used to do a Halloween and a Christmas special each year, and I like to do that, and then it's become a bit more harder to try and do them each year, because for whatever reason or another, like I had quite a few actors, and obviously people have moved on, so some don't want to be in them anymore, or some I just don't have any contact with anymore, unfortunately. So I don't have as many actors for my films, and then obviously lockdown has made it harder to get other ones who are up for being in the films, for being able to have contact with them. So I've had to do all my films at home with just my partner and the kids. But yeah, the most recent one was a Halloween special called Sienna versus the Skull, and I've wanted to do a film with a skull for years, inspired by the Amicus film The Skull with Peter Cushing, because I love that film. And so it's inspired by that. It even has a clip of the film in it. So it starts off with Sienna, who's my daughter, watching some horror films for Halloween, because the film was originally called Halloween Viewing. So it was like, this is her Halloween viewing, but it's just a boring title. whereas Sienna versus the Skull sounded so much more interesting. Like it's like Snakes on a Plane. It just, as soon as you hear that, you go, oh, I'm interested. What's that? Oh, am I watching that? You know what it is as soon as you hear the title. So, yeah, so we did that. That was quite fun. That's it. So I don't think I haven't got a Christmas one planned. It's a bit late on now to try and knock one out. So I think that's it for this year.
Well, it sounds like you've had a really productive year, which is absolutely tremendous. Yeah, I get the thing with actors. I seem to, I don't know. I think I need to dig up some more actors. We do seem to. I thought I'd unearth quite a lot through this process, but haven't come across so many. So where can people see these films? Do you put them up on social media, or have you got a website?
Yeah, they're all on YouTube. I used to update a blog with them all, but then I just kind of got bored of doing that. And I used to have a website where it was just like a free-made website. But I think because of having all the YouTube links on it, used to run really slow, and then I just stopped using that because I don't think people really went to the website or the blog. So I just put them on YouTube, and then I post pictures, posters, updates, and the videos themselves, like the YouTube links, onto Facebook and Twitter. Mostly Facebook, but I do try to keep Twitter up to date as well.
Yeah.
Well,
make sure, let me have like your social media tags and stuff so that I can put them on the video when it goes online.
Okay, thank you.
Brilliant. Well, it's been lovely to talk to you, Andy. I really like talking to people that I don't really know what they're about, what they're up to, and hopefully when we get out of all this, we'll sort of set up a bit of a film club down at the Auxiliary. I'm definitely setting up a writing club, but it'd be nice to get like a film club and maybe a film and theatre club, because then we'll sort of generate a pool of actors between us, which would be terrific.
Yeah.
All right, well, lovely to talk to you, and good luck with it all. And
thank you.
I hope to meet you in person sometime next year.
Yeah, hopefully. Yeah.
All right, toodly pip.
Bye.